Well, good morning. Let's put that out a bit. Welcome to another whiteboard, another whiteboard video. I quite like the idea of the whiteboard, and I have people that leave me comments saying, "Oh, I love the whiteboard, dude," and so another whiteboard today. What I want to do today is a really cool one. So we did a bit on the mirror the other day, where what you see in other people is a reflection of unresolved separation idea within your own mind, separation from God, showing up as a component or a part of your relationship chain that you're here to heal. So today I thought we'd dig into forgiveness more. And there's a line in the course when you get to the definition of terms and stuff at the back of the course. There's a small section on pretty much all of the different aspects of your spiritual journey that are going to occur. I think it's called clarification of terms, that section. And there's a section within it called what is forgiveness? And the first line of that section reads, forgiveness sees that what you think your brother did to you has not occurred. Now that's going to be hard to swallow. In my 2.5 decades or more of doing this work, I've met people that have had experiences of really horrific things, like from being raped, being beaten, and diseases, and like awful stuff, right? Forgiveness is applied to yourself and to others, but the way it's applied to others is through atonement, through accepting it first for yourself. Now, if you look at the central lesson the course attempts to teach, it's teaching you that there is no world. What you think you see isn't so, right? And it would be easy enough to just walk around going, "Oh, it's all right, there is no world. Oh, that's fine, I won't worry about it. It's just an illusion. All this crap happened to me, but I'll just let it go." And that's fine. That is the state of mind of letting it go. That is the state of mind. But you cannot let go of something partially. You cannot let go of something via lip service, just through talking about it. There is a process where you recognize within you that it has been let go, and where it no longer has an effect in your life, in the way where if you were to come across that person or situation or whatever again, that it wouldn't immediately bring up that incident, the previous incident, and bring you right back to the grievance and right back to the trauma and everything else. So one of the other things in the course, and I'm going to try to stitch this all together here, but one of the other lines in the course, in the principles, right in the beginning, is where it says, I think it's number 7, maybe. Hang on, no, 7 is, it's been a while. Prayer is the medium of miracles, I think, is 7. So anyway, I forget which number it is, but it says miracles are your right, because you're a child of God, but purification is necessary first, because what we're fundamentally admitting is, I'm doing this to myself. I'm doing this to myself. I'm in the world because I chose to come, number one, and everything that seems to occur to me within the framework of the world, I chose within that initial choice to come here. Now, it wasn't initially a choice to come to the world. It was a choice to experience what it's like to be separate from God, separate from yourself, right? Because you are God. You are God mind dreaming. We'll call that the Christ mind. And if anyone out there is going, "Oh, blasphemy, you can't say that we're God." Well, God is everything. That must include you. It's not rocket science. Try not to get caught up in the religiosity of things. Try to keep this purely open-minded and spiritual, and you can Let it in. If it finds a place to land in your psyche, then so be it. If it doesn't, so be it as well. It's all beautiful, you know, like just let it be. So I've had people tell me that. It's funny. But the people telling me that also show up as reflections of my own thinking that wants to deny the truth. You came here to have an experience of denial of truth. It's like in the little book. In this little book, I put the story right in the beginning that I invented myself, I guess, or God mind invented through Dave, of the travel agent. You're in eternity. God gives you free will because you're a creation. God didn't create you to be a slave. You know, you're just doing your thing in eternity there, and along comes God, and here you are, my child, here's free will. This is the only gift I can really give you because you already have everything else being one with all things. And this is all part of the separation, of course, you know, and you're like, free will? What's free will? And I'm just making up a story, right? So don't verbatim on this. It's just a way to try and explain something that's incredibly difficult to explain. And you're like, you've got your little ball of free will, like a crystal ball or something, you know, and you're like, well, what do I do with it? What is free will? And God says to you, well, you know, go down there to the travel agent and you'll find out. So you go to the travel agent and you say, look, God just gave me this free will. I don't even know what it is. And the travel agent directs you to the brochures on the wall, like in a normal travel, you know, and there's 12th dimension, 10th dimension, and, you know, you get down to the 3rd dimension. And there's all these pictures. You don't know what any of it is. You've got no idea. You've only ever been in eternity where all things are love and unconditional love, and you're just like blissing out for eternity forever and ever. And the travel agent says, you know, like, pick one of those, whatever you like, and let's get started, you know, journey of the soul. And you're like, oh, that sounds fun. So anyway, 3rd dimension, war, pain, death, you know, and then joy, happiness, sex, all this sort of stuff. And you don't know what any of it is. So you hand over your free will to the travel agent. The travel agent puts you into a deep sleep, into the coma mobile, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're being pulled out of somebody's vagina and slapped on the ass and like, welcome to the world. And it's like, what a welcome, you know, like your head's crushed like to a point and someone's just whacked you across the butt before you take your very first breath. And and then stuff starts to happen according to the itinerary that you now don't remember. Right? You don't remember. If you could remember the travel agency and the itinerary, you'd be like, oh, I remember this. Yeah, oh, I know what happens here. And, you know, it wouldn't be very, very much fun. But, you know, with every travel agent, you know, you sign up for your tickets and your package and whatever. And then down at the bottom's all the fine print. The eternal travel agent has, give up all hope, ye who enter here. Right? And that's actually a clue. That's actually a big clue. Give up all hope. Hope is pointless. Right? Where all things end in death, what the hell are you going to hope for? A better death? So anyway, and then you have this experience, and somewhere within the experience, you're like, this experience sucks. It really sucks. I don't feel like I fit in. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know how I got here. I don't remember what my life was before coming here, if I even had one. I don't know if there's going to be an afterlife. And you don't know anything. You're just a blank slate, an NPC, right? And you go through the whole thing, lifetime after lifetime. You've got all eternity, right? Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime for 130 billion years, apparently so far. Science tells us since the Big Bang or whatever, however they originate the universe. So, and eventually you get to this video, and it's like I'm representing the travel agent. Hello. I always find it funny. I crack myself up with this stuff, you know. It's like it's funny stuff. And, you know, when you don't enjoy your holiday and you want to go home and you ring the travel agent, I've had enough. Does my insurance cover me bailing out early? I want half of my money back at least, you know. And they say, well, just ring our agent. So here I am, I've picked up the phone. Hello. And the good news is, yes, you can go home because that's where you actually are already in eternity, sleeping, let's say, not really sleeping, I won't get into that just yet, but dreaming. You are here watching this video. And I say, well, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is, yes, there is an awakening procedure from the dream. The bad news is that's also something you have to undergo. It's not beyond the bounds of immediate undergoing. You can experience salvation immediately. But generally the mind is so obscured to its pain, so defended and well guarded against truth, that Jesus talks about it in the Course, that in the process of claiming your insurance rebate on the travel agency, there's a process that you have to go through, and we call that purification or healing. And the keystone, or the key to healing, is forgiveness. Forgiveness of myself for the world I think I made in its entirety, not just the bad stuff, the good stuff as well. It's like you can't leave a holiday partially. You can't leave yourself partly overseas on a vacation and the part of you that doesn't like the holiday come home. You got to come home in its entirety. And when you get home, you'd be like, I didn't like those bits, but those bits were good. Because that's what the mind does. It splits everything up into two camps, duality, yin and yang, the good and the bad, and tries to find itself somewhere within the framework of that as an identity-based avatar person who's having the actual experience. And it's actually not true. You're in eternity now having that experience of believing that you are here having an experience. So quantum is really fucking tricky, right? It's being in two places at once, like it's doing the same thing, but it's not it's not two different things. It's one thing. It's one mind experiencing itself as two things in eternity, as above and so below. So marker pens, whoever sent me these, I'm very grateful. Thank you. So we're going to focus on what you think your brother did to you has not occurred, because that will bring up, and if this does bring up a lot of grief and trauma and whatever in you, and a lot of reflection that you don't like to look at, maybe skip this video until you've done a bit of preamble work, with other spiritual ideas, until you feel like you've got the faith and the courage and the strength to actually look at stuff, because this does require looking at stuff. The process of healing, we don't want to transcend our issues. We don't want to transcend our blocks to love's awareness within ourselves. We want to face those blocks, right? Jesus says in the Course, seek for the blocks and find them, right? That means that if you find your blocks to love, which are based on fear, you are going to find your fears, all right? But in looking at them reasonably with the Holy Spirit to make light of them, which is to make them reasonable to you, or to bring light to the situation, you're going to have to look at them and understand the nature of the transformation with regards to them, as the Holy Spirit teaches you how to reinterpret the defense mechanisms used to hold those blocks in place, so that you can liberate yourself from the reaction you have within your own association every time that those thoughts about that particular thing pop into your mind, which are all symbolic, of course, of separation from God. So there's an asterisk on my board. So we're going to have eternity, the as above and so below. Again, I draw it there. As above, here we are in eternity as this divine being or angel or whatever, and we can put some little wings or something. It could look like anything, because I don't know what it looks like. I've experienced it. But I still can't, So there we are in eternity, happy as can be, no problem. Imagining, right, daydreaming, not really paying attention let's say if we had eyeballs in eternity, we don't, but if we had eyeballs in eternity, they'd be pleasantly closed while we're imagining something. Right? Imagining something for an instant in eternity is trillions of years, right? Trillions. And we're imagining that we're separate from ourselves, that we're something else. So we're looking back. We're out from ourselves, looking back into almost like a mirror or a reflection to try and see what we are. And you know, when you look into a mirror, if you go into your bathroom and look into the mirror and you try to stare into your exact eyeballs, because they're diametrically apart, you know, like that, and you focus the two of them on a single point to give yourself three-dimensional perspective, you can't actually look into both of your eyeballs at once. You try to look into one and then the other one, but you can't actually ever see perfect vision like that. And so when you're looking into the thing, you get a distorted vision of yourself. Right now, that distorted vision starts off as a tiny mad idea, which seems to have, and it's in eternity, it's above the eternity line, which seems to have effects, right? In the dream, in your imagination here, in the bubble of imaginariness, that tiny mad idea seems to pop up all over the place as all sorts of things, and you imagine yourself as a different kind of thing, with arms and legs and hair on your head, and you know, and you don't know what's going on. You're like, where am I? What is this? Right? Because you're completely engaged with all these things going on here, the part of your mind that is continually engaging keeps you separated from the part of your mind that knows you're actually whole and perfect as God created you in eternity, dreaming the whole thing, making it all up. But the reflections you're getting, and I've done a very similar whiteboard to this before because there's only really one way I can think to do it, but every time you react to something, you get the reflection. You project out onto it something, and then that comes back to you. What you put out, you get back. And the mind that's in the world, it says, oh, I love this aspect of this tiny mad idea because everything down here is fractured. It's like the yin and the yang. We split it up into things we like and don't like because somewhere this is terrifying. All right? Oh no, what happened? What have I done? Fall from grace, etc. And you're trying to figure out, where did my perfection go? Where did my wholeness go? Where did my innocence go? Right? And so you look in the world for it because you're preoccupied with looking out here and you're looking for perfection. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for perfection. You don't imagine for a second that perfection is the whole thing, right? Even in denial of truth up here, this is still perfect. It's a perfect example of separation from truth. But within that dream, there is your own individual dream. And so you look into here and you go, well, that's not perfect. I mean, that seems to be somewhat perfect here. And this one here, you know, no, don't like that one, you know, big down face. And so you start to split your experience up into this yin-yang kind of thing where you try to keep all the good things to yourself and the bad stuff, you know, keep it at bay. Eventually you realize that doesn't work. That's just like I'm just building more walls, just sort of like containing myself and the things I like. And then eventually you're stuck with all the things you like. You've built a big garden fence to keep the rest of the world out, and you've got your toys and your cars and everything in there. That's all the stuff. And all your friends that you do like, and eventually one of those friends says something you don't like, out. And then you've got less things behind the wall, and you're building another wall to make sure that friend doesn't come back because, you know, like I can't allow for imperfection. Right? Getting somewhere. So let's just deal with one situation that what you think your brother did to you has not occurred. And some of you guys are probably already starting to see where I'm going with this, especially if you're using the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles. You'll probably have this down pat already. So here's me in my experience, let's say, and I'm just doing whatever I'm doing. You know, I'm just making it up as I go along. And I come into contact, I should put some eyeballs in there. I come into contact with somebody else who says, hey man, I don't like you, eyebrows, and pointing the finger at me. I don't like you, you're a piece of shit, you're this, you're that, whatever, right? Now, one of the things that you'll find in social media, because everybody these days likes to be a psychologist or a self-analyst, you know, one of the things you'll find is that you'll suddenly question it and you'll be like, oh, that poor person, that's their karma, their wound, their drama, their trauma, you know, and they're projecting onto me from their trauma. No, there is no their trauma. That's separation. If I keep myself separate from this person, right, instead of putting my finger on my nose and taking total responsibility for the situation, then all I'm doing is perpetuating that situation again. I need to own what's being presented to me, right? Hey man, you're a piece of shit. And I'll just put that in the P-O-S, piece of shit, right? And I'm being accused of it. My automatic response is to defend myself, right? Because ego always speaks first, and defense is how it maintains its appearance of aliveness or beingness or credibility, whatever. I instantly defend myself by assuming, I'll put my hand up there, talk to the hand, right? By assuming that this other person's got issues. Maybe I can help them with their issues. I'm a spiritual person and maybe I can, you know, no. I mean, yes, but no, not in that instance, because that's a form of defense, right? I'm defending myself against what's occurring by projecting out that it's separate from me. It's not separate from me. If I'm one with all things, as above, so below, here I am up there in my little beingness, dreaming. The illusion of separation sees this person as separate from me, but the truth of the matter up here says, well, I'm not separate from anything. I'm one with all things, as above, so below. The situation down here seems to be trying to convince me that I'm separate and that I need to defend myself from it, right? Now, one of the lessons in the course, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. All of a sudden, over here, I've been practicing defenselessness, or telling myself I need to practice defenselessness. I put my hand down and I put it on my heart and I allow myself to feel it. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. You said something and yes, it hurts. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to tell you you're a piece of shit or you know, or try to defend myself with any kind of return comment. I'm going to allow myself to feel it. And obviously every situation is going to be different. You may not have the opportunity to undergo the whole thing in the moment, right? But there's no verbatim blueprint for how this occurs. You'll find every situation has its own little gap, its own little doorway where you can recognize the call to be still within yourself and allow for that healing that's going to happen in you to happen. All right, so here I am, I'm feeling it. I'm immediately giving it in my mind to the Holy Spirit up here, right, through this internal prayer. It doesn't have to be like kneeling on my ground and what, you know, like in the moment. Father, help. Right? Father, help. And when you feel it in your heart, when you feel that insult or that connection, which appears as an insult, it's a connection, right? You're connecting with someone on some kind of level. You may not like that level, but it's a connection, it's a relationship. When you feel it at that level, all of a sudden, boom, the prayer of your heart, which you are feeling it in, right? I'm feeling it in my heart, that hurts. I'm not just analyzing it in my mind, telling myself he shouldn't say that. That's a terrible thing to say, right? And my prayer, which is of the heart, right? All prayer must be of the heart. You've got to feel it. It's like that integrity and that love and that warmth has to be part of it. Help me, Father, like real, not just lip service. Help me, Dad. You know, so the prayer goes up, comes down in the faster than the speed of thought, right? It's an action of mind. And perhaps something else comes out here for you to say, and maybe nothing to say, maybe a hug, maybe just a smile, maybe you just walk away, whatever, but there's no defense in it, right? And maybe you say, I'm sorry, or something, right? Or forgive me, or whatever. Usually there's a doing, usually there's some sort of thing that goes on, but there's not always, or virtually never, a window where all of a sudden you're going to stop and start teaching this person about the meaning of life, right? This is personal atonement. This is my own atonement. All of the teachings about life, the universe, and everything are for me, so I can complete my own assignment here in the journey of my soul that I undertook on the, with the travel agent up there in eternity. So all of a sudden, this person, and I'm just going to make this up, it could go any way. This person might be more angry than you can imagine or whatever, and it might go deeper, in which case you're going to have to feel it to a deeper level, like, oh, God. And all of a sudden, they might realize your sincerity because you've been praying, right? You've asked for help, you've received the help, and they feel another certain way about you now. All of a sudden, you're not the piece of shit they thought you were. And I'm just making this up, right? A relationship can look like anything. And maybe they give you a hug. It's like, oh, sorry, man, I didn't mean it that way, or whatever. And you'll find, even in your own references, you'll find that if you look back on situations that you've been involved in, that you realize, oh man, I really fucked that up, and I shouldn't have said that when I opened my mouth, and blah blah blah. You'll realize that you didn't really want to be that person anyway. Right? We're all looking for a better way. We're all looking to live from the heart somehow. And when your heart goes up here and comes back as the answer to your prayers, right? And it manifests in you as I'm sorry or forgive me or whatever. The vibration of that resonates with the heart space over here, right? The mind over here can still deny it, can still try to pretend they're angry, but it's awfully hard to be angry at somebody that's loving you. It's awfully hard to be angry at somebody, like Jesus said, forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. I mean, the guy's on the cross, and not that he was ever actually on the cross. He'll tell you he's not a body. He never died on the cross. His whole message was, there is no death. I did not die, right? 3 days later, hey, I'm back. Put your fingers in the holes. So it's awfully hard to be upset, when somebody's loving you. And a lot of defenses can melt away, right? So the defenses that we have against having this harmonious relationship or this holy relationship on earth can melt away. Heart to heart, not mind to mind. It may take, however, it may not occur in the moment, the totality of the healing of that relationship. It can take a moment for this heart space to do its miraculous nature on the mind, where the mind goes away and thinks about it and like, all right, I'll let that go. I see that they're honest, They may still be trying to hang on to their anger to justify the original position that you asked them to play in the in the travel agent itinerary, right? So you choose your itinerary. I want to choose to have this angry person so I know what anger is, and I want to choose to have this other person play this part and that part and that part. And here comes to another whole thing, right? And I'm going to do this with an abusive situation. I'm just building the framework here for what you think your brother did to you did not occur at all. And I'm going to look at it, we'll look at it from the point of view, there is no world, so how can it have occurred if it's only an illusion of occurring, right? Because I'm actually up here in eternity, and it's not really happening down here, but it seems very real. It seems incredibly real, but there's nothing actually happening at all, right? Nothing. All that's occurring down here in the as above, down below, all that's occurring in the down below is mind awakening from a dream right now, since the resurrection 2,000 years ago. And the reorchestration of the defense mechanisms of the mind to serve the atonement, to serve resurrection, to serve the redemption of mankind for the greater glory of God. Now, some of these things you're going to look at and be like, well, that person stole my car. There's no way I'm ever going to forgive them. I saved up for 20 years to buy that car, and, you know, they stole it and now it's gone, right? And you get into the ideas of lack and loss and betrayal and like, oh my God, it just goes on, long list. Let's keep it simple. Separation. Somebody did something to me. No, I did it to myself, right? Or somebody abused me sexually or emotionally or whatever, right? And I don't want to sound like I'm laughing it off, but I'm laughing it off, right? Because technically the activity of forgiveness is to laugh, and it's like, it's just how it transpires. You find yourself laughing at it as, I chose this. It's like when I was diagnosed with cancer, I didn't understand that I'd chosen it. But I had one of my friends saying, oh, you manifested that. And I'm like, get out of here. What the fuck are you talking about, you idiot? You know, like I was very defensive against realizing that I was responsible for the experience I was having within the world. And the power of my mind seemed to be diminished in its capacity to understand, you know, how is that possible? And it took a lot of framework, a lot of this sort of stuff that we're doing now for it to be made reasonable to me. And I had to see it again and again and again. I had to read the course again and again and again and read those lessons and do those lessons. And finally I came to that sort of penny drop moment. Holy shit, I chose this. I chose this experience of separation, and it's manifested as a world that seems to be separate from God, where fucking anything can happen. Wars happen. People are blown to bits by bombs, limbs, arms, legs, heads off, you know, and we're worried about somebody raped me or somebody's stolen my car, or, you know, it's like the atrocities here. If there was a sliding scale, I guarantee that the average domestic experiences most people have, I mean, you know, we're looking at suicide in there as well and all those sorts of things. But on the grand scale of things, there is some really barbaric shit that goes on here. I mean, whose idea was it to invent the atomic bomb? Hundreds of thousands of people wiped out in an instant, their flesh burnt from their bones while they're still alive. You know? So, fuck, I quit. I've had it with this world. You know, and I don't want to downsize anybody's traumas and dramas and thing, but I mean, look at the big picture. We think some things are important to us and have such credibility to us and demand our defenses and our justification and our victimhood and all of this sort of stuff. But look at the big picture. It's like this morning, something on YouTube about this asteroid that in 60 years or 90 years is probably going to hit Earth. You know, we'll be gone by the way of the dinosaurs, which means my daughter, she'll be like 60 or whatever years from now, she'll be 70 something. Like, you've got to give up all hope. Give up hope. Don't stop playing that stupid game, you know, where you think that there's hope for a better future. There isn't. But there is hope in you for the fulfillment of your own atonement assignment, right? And I'll call it an assignment because it seems like one. When you start doing those workbook lessons, it seems like you're back at school and you've got an assignment due, and it's how it feels, right? So I'm going to use rape, right? I know it's distasteful to a lot of people. Oh, actually, I won't use rape. I'll use physical abuse, right? That seems to be quite prevalent in social circles at the moment. Domestic abuse, that's the, you know, it's like, and usually perpetuated by men upon women, but it's coming out from under the carpet now that probably quite a lot of men also domestically abused by women. And I remember being at a party in my late 20s and watching one of my friends, his spouse came over to him. They'd been having a bit of an argument. Nobody thought it was much of an argument. And she flipped, picked up a fork from the kitchen and stuck it in his chest. Just out of the blue. He'd come into the kitchen to apologise and to make sure that they were all good. She just, 000, ambulance, hello, you know. So Abuse, as a thing, and I'll just put it here. I know a lot of people will be able to relate to it. And again, on the sliding scale, there's many forms of abuse, right up to the point of the extinction of the body, the death of the body, let's say. And there's not really any death. It's just an illusion of death. Right before everybody jumps up and down and tells me Jesus teaches there is no death. I know that. So here's somebody here, and here's somebody here, and this person did something to this person. Well, this person over here, capital V, all of a sudden, the first response, because ego speaks first, I'm a victim of what you did to me. Right? Fair enough. I'm not going to take that away from you. You allow yourself to be the victim. Be totally the victim. Seek compensation. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. But be aware, this situation is a relationship. Relationships are learning tools. Whether it's this person or another person or another person, unless that relationship is healed, it's going to come around again. A lesson repeats until it's learned, right? Now, the same thing with my cancer. It started off as a slightly annoying itch under the skin, from what I remember. I don't really remember it now. I basically remember a very faint outline, probably what it said in the travel itinerary. Cancer, annoying little itch that grows, And it got worse and worse and worse. It would come periodically. It wasn't just a constant thing. I know some things are a constant thing, but it got worse and worse and worse. And every time I would be like, why? What is this? What the hell? I hate this thing, and it would last for a week or two and then go again. But a lesson repeats until it is learned. And the point you want to get to, right? The aha point, the big exclamation mark here that you want to get to is, I'm doing this to myself. Because you want to see where you're doing it to yourself. One, so you can be the witness to the power of your own mind in making changes about the way you see yourself in the world, etc., etc. And two, so that when you undergo the healing within the framework of that relationship, those two people, let's say, that you can be the witness in that also, that next time it comes around, you don't feel the same way about it. You don't have the same defenses. Something has shifted. You've had a shift in consciousness. All right. You see that person. You're no longer the victim to that person. You're grateful to them. Right. And this is going to be tough. Right. So you guys that want to turn me off right now. Right. Try to persist to the end and just let all this information in and then deal with it later. Okay. It'll process. Let it process. You end up becoming grateful to that person for abusing you. All right, that's going to be a big step. Why are you grateful? Because they've been playing that part as your brother in Christ for you for a long time. In one form or another, they show up as different people in different situations, but it's the same energetic signature that they represent, that abusive signature. Right? Everything's energy, everything's a frequency. They represent that. That person represents that as part of your itinerary. You asked them to come and play that part for you there. And because they love you unconditionally, they come down here, they get a mind wipe, they have amnesia, they don't know why they're here either, and they just start playing their part. They don't even know why. If you ask them, why did you do that to me? They'll be like, I don't know, I couldn't control myself. I can't stop it. I'm possessed by a demon or something. But there's this interactive kind of relationship, and it's sort of Mobius loops in and out and in and out. And one time, at one point, if you know what, you can Google Mobius loop. In one moment, you think you're on the outside of the loop and everything's good, and the next thing you're right back in the middle of it again. And you don't know how. How does it look? It's a mind fuck. You look at a Mobius loop, it is a mind fuck. You try to work out how the outside and the inside are the same. It's like, how is that bloody, So you're grateful to that person. And the victimization or the abuse that you think happened once before never actually happened. That wasn't how it was. You had an experience of separation from God that you chose in eternity, in the idea of dreaming or walking away from God. And that brother played that part for you because they love you. Jesus said, "Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do." And that is true justice. That is divine justice. They don't know what they're doing. There is no one on this planet who knows why they do the things they do. They just do them because they've educated themselves to be defensive or to attack when they feel attacked, and completely forgetting that we're the same. We are one mind. We are one entity. We are one love. And it's like arriving at that gratitude. It's like, man, I'm not going to disclose it on thing here because it's personal to me and the other person involved is still alive and incapable of understanding now in a certain state of mind, in a demented state of mind. There's stuff that was done to me when I was a boy, I would say, that I wouldn't want to happen to anybody. I wouldn't want it to happen to anyone. I was witness to it, It didn't happen to me personally, but I had no choice but to take it personally. And it was horrible. It totally shattered a whole idea about something that I had, and I had to work out that whole thing with it in my own mind with the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit of wholeness, the Spirit of love, to see it differently so that the as above unconditional love and so below unconditional love all lined up, and I could be free of the belief that there was a victim, me, in the situation, and so that I could find gratitude for those brothers that played that part in that situation for me, to make my experience of separation from God seem real, right? Now, it does seem very real. It's horrible, and people sometimes say, how is it you laugh at stuff like this, dude? Are you a psychopath or a sociopath or something? And it's like, no, I've actually been outside of here, seen that it's all a dream, and my mind cannot technically go back to believing it's not a dream. I'm stuck in the it's a dream. That's like there's a light that burns here in my thing all the time, and when I do that, when I open my mind, there's the light, and the light represents the truth. The truth is, what you think your brother did to you has not occurred. And that's going to sound preposterous until you have an experience of this. And then it's going to be like when you're playing virtual reality game, you take the goggles off and you're back in your own house, and you're like, whew, that seemed real. I died about 50 times fighting that big boss, and in Grand Theft Auto, I died. The cops got me because I got 5 stars and whatever. I'm a bit of a gamer, not these days, but I remember it. But if you've never played virtual reality in VR, with a VR headset on, go and do it. I mean, you can go into an Apple store and have a trial of their virtual reality thing. Mind-boggling. You feel like you're inside the computer. You feel like, the best one I ever did, if you go to a gaming shop, the best one I ever tried was Elder Scrolls. I think it was Elder Scrolls anyway, medieval kind of thing. And you put the thing on, you're in there. You're in the game, like literally, and there is no way somebody outside here tapping you on the shoulder is going to convince you that you're not there. You'll have these tap, tap, tap. Oh yeah, that's right, it's just a game. That's just a game. But the game seems perfectly real while you're in it. You fight people with swords and you get killed and you respawn, reincarnation. Same thing again and again and again. What you think your brother did to you has not occurred. Now, reach that point in your consciousness with the activity of divine forgiveness. I'm going to accept forgiveness for myself for choosing separation in the itinerary that's playing out here in my relationships. They either represent separation or they represent wholeness. I'm either seeing love or a call for love, right? And that's a big one. I either see love or a call for love. It's either a blessing or a lesson. If I'm seeing a call for love, it's a call for love in me. I need to forgive myself for asking that person to play that part for me because they love me. They don't want to play that part for me truly. They don't do it begrudgingly. They do it with unconditional love. But they would rather be back here in eternity awake with me and let's just love each other rather than this ridiculous crap that goes on down here in the dream that we're starting to realize is nothing but ridiculous crap. It makes no sense. Stop trying to understand it. Apply forgiveness and just awaken from the dream in its entirety, or just have those shifts in consciousness that allow you to remember the light of eternity in your own mind. And for a moment, we'll laugh together at the particulars of our healing nature and all of this sort of stuff as we begin the process of awakening and continue on in that. I think that covers all the boxes, ticks all the boxes. But it's not going to be believable. You're not going to want to believe me. You're going to think I'm an idiot. You're going to think that I'm lost my mind when I tell you that gratitude, an attitude of gratitude to everyone for everything, that is the stamp that forgiveness leaves on your heart. And if it doesn't, then you haven't fully forgiven that situation. If you find that you're not totally grateful to that person for playing that part for you, and that's a big ask. Remember the sliding scale, atomic bomb? How can you be the survivor of an atomic bomb and be grateful to the person that invented it? All your arms and legs blown off and burned off. And it's like, well, the power of will, the power of the heart is a lot stronger than the power of the ego that wants to judge, right? Because it has the Holy Spirit in its corner fighting for it there. It's like the Holy Spirit's like, come on, I got this. You step aside. Let me show you what's actually happening. Right? And you'll be shown. You'll have revelations. You'll have all sorts of shifts in consciousness that throw you for a six and disorientate your way of seeing things. I mean, I'm loving the relationship that I'm having with Tyna right now. Tyna is, she came to me, and I'm just going to talk about you. I'm kind of got to make it up a bit because I don't remember. Like we've been online together now for 3 years or more, and I think it's about that. Tyna is one of these associations that I would say has a lot of history with spiritual inquiry, but very little cognitive experience as far as a shift in consciousness goes. Now, she had a shift in consciousness a couple of weeks back, right? I'm just talking in time for a second, and loved the hell out of it. She didn't like arriving at the point where the shift occurred, but after the shift occurred, like just wow, right? A whole new whoop. And I remember the first shift, not revelation, but I remember the first shift in consciousness I had was after doing lesson 12. I went to bed. I did lesson 12 in the workbook. I went to bed as Dave with a head full of thoughts that just blah, 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 blah. Brand new to A Course in Miracles. Woke up on lesson 13, perfect silence. Something happened in the course of the night, in the middle of the night, in relation to lesson 12 and 13, in between there somewhere, where I was shown what's possible. Like over the next few days, my mind started to chit-chat again. And by the third or fourth day, it was back to normal. But I saw what was possible. I saw that it was possible to have a perfectly peaceful mind, and I was encouraged to continue on. But things like that happen. I woke up, I was slightly anxious when I woke up the next day. I'm like, why is my mind so quiet? You know, like I can't find a thought. First time in my life that I remember never having one thought in my mind apart from, why is my mind so quiet? Probably that thought. But, you know, you start to have shifts in consciousness. You get excited about it because every time you have a shift, you're starting to remember the truth of yourself. It's always going to be relative to the situation in the world down here for a moment. But that's where the purification happens. That's where the process goes on. So you kind of have to accept it. It's like, all right, well, my feet are here on earth. So for a moment, I'm just going to be about this as if the world is real. I'm not going to try and bypass all the work by just walking around, oh, there is no world, there is no world. Of course there is no world. But if there is no world, why does Jesus tell me that there's this thing called forgiveness? Why do I have 365 lessons in how to forgive, basically? You know, so the work, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. If you want to go back and see the travel agent and tell him that the third dimension's pretty fucked up. The good news is, and I know it's kind of funny, but the good news is that all the third dimensional brochures in the travel agent have now been removed. They were removed with Jesus' resurrection 2,000 years ago. They started to be removed with the Buddha's ministry, 500 years before Jesus. But Buddha got caught on the idea of finding the answer to the nature of suffering, rather than proving that there is no death. So that was the next step, and it's like, if you see rightly, every mind, right, there's this awakening, just gets more and more and more. It starts off here as opposite idea of sleeping up here. It gets more and more. So somewhere here you've got Buddha, and then 500 years later you've got Jesus, and then up here, I don't know, you've got maybe even me, and then, yourself up here in 10 years or 20 years, representing this from an increased availability of light, right? That the awakening, like the more that awaken, the more that awaken. So it's important that each person does their part, plays their part, and accepts their own atonement, keep their finger on their nose, so that you don't think you're going to point it out there at someone else. It's never about someone else. It's always here. Someone else is separation. When I think I see somebody else, I put my finger here, and it's like, no, I'm not separate from that person. There is no separation. Separation is an illusion. And I'll do the work to bring that relationship that seems to be tempting me to believe in separation. I'll do the work with the Holy Spirit so I can learn to see it differently, be grateful for that part as a projection of my mind they're playing, as my brother in Christ they're playing, which is up here in the oneness of all things, as above and so below, right? And you heal that fraction or that slice of your pizza. If you've watched my other videos, you heal that particular relationship. That gets snipped out of your timeline. You no longer need to learn that particular lesson, whatever that was representing as an idea of denial that you didn't want to look at. And then you go on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And that's a slowly evolving training program. Like I said, salvation's not beyond immediate learning, but most people, if I said to you salvation's available now, do you want it? There it is. How many of you just suddenly disappeared into the Godhead and found yourself without a body? And, you're doing it all the time. You're doing it faster than the speed of thought. You're disappearing and reappearing, but in your conscious realization of it, self-realization of it, it's like, oh, well, if it doesn't occur, it's because you don't yet truly want it. You still value the grievance. You still value the judgment. You still value the dream of separation. You're getting value for money out of the itinerary. You're complaining about it a lot, I notice, but but you're enjoying the complaining. That's part of the insanity of the human condition. We love to complain. We love to worry. We love, Jesus says the third obstacle to peace, or the third obstacle to love's awareness, the third block is the fear of death. Right? And when you read that, he says, you're not really afraid of death. You actually love it, right? It's an adventure. You love the death. You love the whole thing. You're afraid of actually what's beyond it, which is God. So you stay within the framework of death, recycling again and again and again, because it keeps you separate from God, keeps the dream going. It's like a small child, and the parents say, come on, we've got to leave Disneyland now. And the child's like, no, one more roller coaster, one more thing with the puppets, whatever. And it's like, you don't really want to. Somewhere in your mind, you've got to find that place where you don't really want to, right? It's always yes, but Jesus says, give up the world and follow me. Yes, Jesus, I will do that, but let me just go and sell my goods in the marketplace. It's always a yes, but, right? What we're looking for is our but. Where is my objection to salvation? Where is my objection to unconditional love? Where is my objection to forgiving? And it's not easy. People often write to me and go, this is so difficult, dude. Yes, it is difficult, but we've got each other. We have this brotherhood, like I've realized that you're not separate from me watching this video. We are one. And whilst the appearance with my body's eyes and my senses tells me that we are appearing as two things, it's like the quarks or whatever, the photons, it's actually one photon appearing as two separate photons. That's what we are. And in our willingness to join in a relationship together that is focused around healing and atonement, finger on the nose, right? My sole responsibility being to accept atonement for myself, we can break that chain of relationship that was previously set up to justify separation and begin to laugh together about it as we realize that we've been doing this to ourselves and simply playing a part for each other, and that we've now got a higher purpose than that, right? Which is to help disseminate the universal curriculum, help bring others into the warmth of our brotherhood, etc., etc. I love you guys. I mean that. I mean it. I mean it with all of this up here. I know it sounds nuts. I know it sounds unbelievable. You have to experience it for yourself. There's no other way around it. You have to have the experience. You know, Jesus says in the Course, it's like a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. Even if you've got to climb a freaking mountain, I don't care. I climbed a mountain, you know, but even if you've got to climb a mountain and pray on top of a mountain, whatever it takes, listen to your heart. What is it you've got to do? Do you have to go into the desert? Do you have to find some solitude to find the integrity to, make a pilgrimage? You know, pilgrimages these days are just repackaged kind of tourist destinations now. But I mean, when St. Francis of Assisi did his pilgrimage up over the mountains, to come down into Spain, there was nobody along the way selling him food and water, and there was nobody along the way telling him he'd be okay, and there was none of that. He was just a man in the wilderness, and he received the stigmata, the 5 wounds of Christ, and eventually succumbed to those wounds. But do what you got to do. Follow your heart. I love you.